Hi everyone, Lilith here. Welcome to a discussion on one of the greatest tiers ever created. This is GSC AU. And as you can see, the power level is low. I want to go over exactly what this tier is. So GSC SU is, well, it's Sub-Zero used. Below that is IU, Imaginary used. Below that is GSC AU. This tier has, I'm trying to remember the exact number. Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12. 26 legal Pokemon. And of them, only 14 have, 15 have any reason to use them. And so, look at some of these options. You really want to use Caterpie in this tier? I don't think so. But, this is unironically a really fun tier. You have the standard, GSC, bulk of having maxed out stats, but you also have, a modern kind of momentum-based metagame. There are a lot of double switches. This is a very positional tier, and I can see why it wouldn't be for everyone, but I really like this tier. It feels like a combination of the best parts of Gen 2 mechanics and Gen 7 and 8 mechanics. And I can see why that wouldn't be for everyone, but it's really for me. And as is typical for Gens 1 and 2, there are a few mons that are just on every team. Specifically, Swinub and Totodile. Every team should have these. There is literally no reason not to run them. Swinub has this set. You have your Dual Stab and you have Rest Talk. There's little reason to run anything else. You can maybe argue Hidden Power Grass over Sleep Talk to beat other Swinub, but you're really lowering your own stats. I guess there's Hidden Power Water, but still, you're giving up a lot of bulk. You're much more passive when you use Rest, and you are asleep quite a lot. And this only helps against other Swinub. Against Earthquake Ice Beam is just such strong coverage that it's not worth lowering your stats and making yourself so passive just to beat other Swinub. Totodile is much more versatile. As you can see, oh, by the way, these sample sets, not to brag or anything, but I made these sample sets. So I'll just go over these. You've got Special Croc. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, first off, I should go over why these mons are so good. Well, first off, Swinub is good because it's got its coverage, and its stats are really good. 50 base speed is amazing in this tier. It's pretty bulky. Really the only answers to it are water types. Because basically everything else is terrified of its coverage and can't switch in. You've got stuff like Cleffa, but what's it gonna do? So you've got your... So, this thing is just an amazing revenge killer. Being a mixed attacker means it can handle curse setup. Curse sweepers are very scary in this tier. And, a lot of the tier revolves around positioning your setup sweeper to be able to sweep while preventing the opponent from doing the same. And Swinub can use Ice Beam to, first for freeze, but more importantly, just have a strong special attack. Even with the low special attack stat, it's stab and it's not like many Pokemon in the tier have a good special stat, a good special attack. well, okay, the special defense stats in the teal aren't much better. So, like, you can stop setup mons pretty well. Well, not stop them, but revenge kill them. And I mean, you're just a threatening Pokemon that can go on late game cleans that can revenge kill. It's just a solid choice, and there's just nothing else in the tier that really does what Swinub does anywhere close to as well. And there's a similar, and Totodile is kind of the opposite, whereas Swinub just has one set that works everywhere. Totodile has so many sets that there's like basically, if you build a team that doesn't have a Totodile, I guarantee you there is one of those 6 Pokemon, well, minimum one of those 6, maybe 2 or 3, you could replace with a Totodile, and they do the exact, and Totodile would do the exact same thing but better. Because it's just so versatile. Like, stats are, I mean, it has the highest stats in the tier of anything that's usable. And like by far, you've got 314. Whereas Ditto, it doesn't really count because it just copies the opponent's stats over. So like the competition is like 285 versus Paris, and these are well distributed too. Like, its speed isn't great, but it's good enough, and it's so bulky. Like, it works very well. Like, you've got your special attacking Rest Talk set. You've also got your Curse set, which is quite possibly the single scariest mon in the tier. You've got Curse, obviously, because this is Gen 2. You've got Rest because you want the longevity and you're really bulky, and because this is Gen 2. Return is your best physical attack, and it has a ton of PP there. And Screech is interesting. Screech allows you to basically win 1v1 against any other Curse user except for another Screech Totodile. Like, this is so scary. It's just like such an intimidating move, but it's not the only option. Obviously, you can run Sleep Talk. I mean, Curse Return, Rest, Sleep Talk in Gen 2, especially in a tier where all the normal resists are at least 2 tiers higher, it's really good. It's really, really good. You've also got the option of running Surf, which is good for which also can help dual other Curse users because it ignores their defense boosts. It also is just immediately threatening. Totodile is the best switch-in to Swinub. Well, okay, one of the 2 best switch-ins to Swinub, and Surf is just immediately threatening to Swinub. So that's really good. You've also got this 3 attack set, which is fun. You've got Rest and 3 attacks. So if Ice Beam, you can run Rock Slide. You can also run Hidden Power Electric. You can run Crunch. Actually, wait, no, don't run Crunch. It's not that good. You can run Frustration or Return. Frustration over Return is just an interesting thing in general in this tier because Ditto is actually decent. And finally, you've got this set. For some reason, it didn't reset the DVs, even though I no longer have Hidden Power. So Fang Chappelle Rest Sleep Talk. If you get an Omni boost on Totodile, you've basically won the game. And you have 8 chances with actually clicking Ancient Power with a 10% chance, and then you have a 1 in 30 chance with your 16 Sleep Talks. So, like, I don't know, this thing's really strong. Like, it's a more inconsistent setup sweeper than just using Curse, but it does have the advantage of both boosting your special attack, which there's way fewer special defense boosters than defense boosters, and also it has the advantage of not dropping your speed, which is good because there are like slow mons that can really mess with a already cursing Totodile. Like, these two always have both of these on your team. Like, there is no reason not to. Then we are moving on to the A+ rank, which only contains one Pokemon, Pidgey. You've got this set. Stab Double Edge alongside Curse and Rest Talk is just insane. Like, this is like the wall breaker. Like, if you want a wall breaker in the tier, this is it. This is the wall breaker. Like every other wall breaker, you don't use it instead of Pidgey, you use it alongside Pidgey. Like you don't have to run Pidgey, but like if you're not running Pidgey, you're running a more defensive team because like every offensive team wants something like this. Like it's just so good. There's also another option, which is to run Miracle Berry Rest and then Thief. You can take away leftovers from a defensive Pokemon that thinks they can switch into you. Like the Holy Grail is taking it from Swinub, but like even if you get it off of like Totodile or even Nidoran, like that's pretty okay. Fine, not Nidoran because Nidoran will also often run Thief. And in case you're wondering which Nidoran am I talking about, both of them. They're both good. You can also mix these sets together, like you can run Double Edge, Curse, Rest, Thief. And like there's also Agility, I guess, but like that's kind of untested. Quick Attack isn't really worth it because like you're so fast anyway, and after you've set up curses, like you're not super worried about priority. And also like it's hard to fit because you have to have rest on basically everything. Like there are a few exceptions, but like you're kind of locked into this set, which is just kind of awkward if you want to run Quick Attack. So like I don't know. It's tempting, but don't go for it. And there's no reason to run a coverage move. Like, there are no normal resists. Just Double Edge is just the way to go. You just click your normal move. You could run Frustration or Return, I guess. Like, those are perfectly fine. But Double Edge is stronger, and the recoil isn't that big of a deal because it's only a quarter in this gen. So, like, just really solid Pokemon overall. Onto the A rank, we've got Slugma. Now, you've got an offensive set, which is this. You've got, hang on. You've got a defensive set, which is this. And finally, you can mix and match them with stuff like replacing Amnesia with Sleep Talk. Well, first I want to go over a trap with Slugma. Do not run Rock Slide, okay? Just don't. Like, if we look at this, now think, what are you hitting with Rock Slide? Well, your first thought might be, the water types. Just run Hidden Power Electric or Grass. Flying types, just run Hidden Power Electric. So the only time when Rock Slide is better than Flamethrower or Hidden Power Electric is against opposing Slugma. And guess what move Slugma loves running? Acid Armor. And if you're running against like a Slugma that doesn't have Acid Armor, then like you're probably running against this, in which case the best Slugma set to duel this, other than like running Amnesia, is to just run the same set. Like beating this one specific Slugma set is not worth an entire move slot. Anyway, but why is Slugma so good? Well, let's sort by special attack. 70 and then 45s and 44s, like This is the strongest special attacker in the tier by such a huge margin. And I mean, because this is Gen 2 and there's maxed out stats, it's bulkier than you'd think. Plus, it has both acid armor and amnesia, which is, um, which just means like it does have longevity. There are problematic mons for it, like Totodile is a problem. Swinub, Earthquake is, you threaten to kill it with Flamethrower, but it threatens to kill you with Earthquake. So like it can't switch in, but like if you're staring down a full health Swinub and you haven't set up Acid Armor, just switch out. Like don't try and go through the mind games. Even if like I think you can survive one Earthquake usually, but like just switch out. It is not worth dueling it. Like don't even try. Okay. In fact, hang on. Did I say a full health Swinub? Like even if the Swinub's at 1 HP, don't bother. Just switch out. Yeah. Slugma for a while was considered a part of like a big three with Swinub and Totodile. It's fallen off a fair bit, but like it's still a really good mon that's like definitely worth using. Like it's really good for fighting curse mons because they'll be slower than it after a curse or two, and they aren't boosting their special defense. The exception being Coast Totodile, but like, I mean, like, Coast Totodile's just a problem for everything to deal with. Well, everything except for this. Now, Swinub and Totodile on every team. Meryl is the best switch-in to both of them. Now, this is a set I really like. The Russian Roulette Meryl. Surf, Rest, Sleep Talk, Perish Song. Now, you may think of Perish Song as like a kind of gimmicky move that you run alongside Whirlpool. That can work, but really what Perish Song is best for is forcing switches. Because there are mons that love to set up, and Perish Song just forces them to switch out soon, and Meryl is the bulkiest mon in the tier. 70, 50, 50 defenses. Like it takes a ton of setup to actually just kill this thing from full health. So you can just force, like it's a good emergency button to force something out, and then you rest, like you click Perish Song, then you rest up, then you switch out. You can, and it's called Russian Roulette because Sleep Talk has a 1 in 3 chance of calling Perish Song, by the way. Like just a really threatening mon that like I'd consider it the best anti-setup mon in the tier. You can also go more offensive by running Ice Beam instead of Perish Song. The only reason you would use this, like, I mean, like, this is to be used alongside Totodile, but, like, running double water types, or if you want to run Coast Totodile, but you still want a special attacking water type, this is good. The problem is, your offensive stats are not that impressive. However, like, it can be good. You can also run a Perish trapping set, like something like this. This is pretty unreliable, but it can just remove a Pokemon that's a big problem for your team, and usually that's Totodile, but it could be something like Pidgey. It could even be a Nidoran. Maybe it's Slugma, although, like, I don't think Slugma is really a Pokemon that other Meryl sets have a hard time dealing with. It's an inconsistent mon, but it can definitely get some work done. And believe it or not, Defense Curl Rollout is actually viable. Like, this is so stupid that it works, but it does. And I just find that so funny because like this bolt combined with defense curl. Oh, by the way, if you really want to be funny, you can run amnesia instead of Soph and just boost your defenses to absurd levels and then spam rollout, and like protect is pretty rare, and then the power just keeps building and building, and it's actually really annoying to try and stop. It's so funny. Um, let's see. There is also the possibility of running a curse mail, but like I've seen it, but like I've seen like curse mail alongside special Totodile. Just flip the roles. Totodile is a better curse user, and if you want to run a special Totodile, but also want a curse user, either run like Curse Pidgey, or there are some other curse users that are really good, run one of them, or just run Curse Totodile and then run a special Meryl. Anyway, on to the A- rank, we've got Pichu. Fastest mon in the tier that isn't Magikarp. It's a Revenge Killer. Hidden Power Fire is probably the best Hidden Power type, because it hits Paris and it hits Swinub. But the problem with this is Wooper, which isn't that common, but it can be a problem, in which case you can run Hidden Power Grass and just be screwed against Paris, which is way more common. Or you could run Petal Dance. There's also stuff like Thunder Wave and Toxic to spread status. Encore is a lot of... I did not mean to do that. Encore is a lot of fun. It lasts 3 to 6 turns in this gen. There's also this set. Now, I don't remember why I put Hidden Power Grass on this set. You still probably want Hidden Power Fire. I mean, I guess Hidden Power Grass lowers your stats less. But, like, you've got your Encore Toxic. Like, this thing is really annoying. Like, that's just kind of its job. It's annoying. There's also an interesting option in Iron Tail. Swinub loves switching into Pichu. And this can be a very rude awakening for Swinub. Because Swinub is Pichu's biggest problem and the biggest thing that keeps it from being higher. Like, Swinub and Slugma are the most recent additions to the tier. And before they were there, like, Pichu was like the god of the tier. Still really good, but nowhere near as good as it was. Nidoran Female is a Volt Beam spammer. Sometimes. But it can also do this. Charm is a very fun anti-setup tool because you're lowering attack by 2 stages and they're only raising attack by 1 stage with Curse. So this can be very obnoxious to face. And your physical bulk is just insane. Like, this is just amazing. Like, it's not on the level of Totodile or Meryl, but it's still really good. And, like, the competition for using Charm is Pichu, which is not able to survive, like, anything. And then there's, like, these schmucks. So, like, Nidoran Female is the best option for that. There's also a set that's really fun that I don't have here, which is you can run Thief. Also worth noting is Moonlight. You don't have to run Rest here. Oh, by the way, you don't have to run Rest on Pichu either. You really shouldn't. It just doesn't have the bulk to make it work. But Moonlight is interesting because, like, you can recover with just one move slot and not making yourself asleep or running Sleep Talk. So you've got that. Unfortunately, Moonlight is incompatible with Charm or Lovely Kiss. Lovely Kiss is another option, but I don't think it's that good because a lot of stuff runs Sleep Talk. So compatibility issues are a problem, but like Thief, you can slot in Thief on either of those sets I showed you, and it's really good. In fact, one very funny set I ran once is Master Ball Nidoran Female. You might be thinking, why would you run this? Well, the idea is you switch into Thief, and you've given the Thief user a useless item, and then you can steal an item from something else. It's incredibly gimmicky, but it was very funny when I pulled it off. So I just felt like mentioning that. And right after Nidoran Female, in the B plus rank, Nidoran Male. Now, Nidoran Male is typically slightly worse, like it's A minus versus B plus, mainly because of the lack of charm and the worse bulk, and the added attack isn't that helpful because they're typically special attackers, and the added speed is helpful, admittedly. Nidoran Male ties Swinub and it outspeeds Totodile, and that is a big deal. There's also an interesting set here with Curse plus Morning Sun. See, a lot of the viable Curse mons don't have recovery outside of Rest. So, like, this can be very threatening. And also, you've got just a really high attack stat. So, that's a good option. There's also Paris, as another B plus rank mon. Paris is a lot of fun. Of course, you've got your standard, like, Spore set. You've got a Curse set. Like Paris does have the highest attack in the tier aside from Unknown, which means it does work as a Curse sweeper. Hidden Power Bug is tempting for Stab, but it's not worth it because even with Stab, it's only slightly stronger than Return, and it also is resisted by a lot of stuff, whereas Return is not resisted by anything. You've got a Swords Dance set. Unfortunately, Swords Dance is not compatible with Synthesis, so you do have to run Rest Talk here, but, like, this is really scary. Highest attack in the tier, and it has Swords Dance. Here's the standard set according to Showdown usage, which is stupid, but, like, it does have the option of Thief, which is a fun move. You don't want to run Thief alongside Leftovers. You also don't want to run it alongside Sword Stands like this. Like, you definitely want either Rest or Synthesis on Paris because, like, Buggrass is an infamously bad typing, but this tier isn't really that well equipped to punish it. Like, it's bulky enough to take regular super effective hits decently fine, and fire moves and flying moves aren't super common, so, like, its typing isn't that bad. It also allows it to switch in on, well, not a whole lot, but Pichu, and it can kind of switch in on Swinub as long as you're confident goes for Earthquake, because I don't think Earthquake into Ice Beam kills. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, yeah, Paris is just a good option, good disruptor. Stun Spore I haven't really seen explored, but maybe it's good. There's also, like, screens and body slam and stuff. I don't know. I mean, Paris has a really good move pool for the tier. Another one with a good move pool, Zubat. You've got this, which is kind of the same thing that Pidgey does. Wing Attack is actually really funny because it absolutely destroys Paris and does, like, nothing else. But, like, absolutely destroying Paris is actually pretty good. You can absolutely just run Return instead. Like, that is perfectly fine. You definitely want a Giga Drain because it's good into Swinub, it's good into the waters, and it also gives you a bit of recovery, which is good because you don't start out with Leftovers. There's also this Haze set, which is good for an anti-setup mon. And also, I'd like to point out that, like, Zubat's bulk, while not that impressive, the only other option for Haze is Wooper, whose bulk is a whole lot worse. Well, at least its bulk is worse especially. Its bulk is actually better physically, but also, like, Zubat is faster, so, like, it's kind of iffy on which is better, and it depends on team structure. But now, I want to talk about Hoot Hoot, who is an anti-setup mon and also a setup mon. Not just, like, it can be either, but, like, at the same time. Well, okay, not with this set. This set is just a slower, bulkier Pidgey. Well, a weaker, bulkier Pidgey. Unfortunately, you don't have Double Edge, which is really unfortunate. But there is this, which is really annoying because Nightmare is actually really scary and can force a ton of switches, and Nightshade as a set damage move just bypasses setup, the only problem being it doesn't hit normal types. And you can absolutely mix and match these with stuff like Curse, Nightshade, Rest, Return. And you use Nightshade or Nightmare, either one, to beat other Curse users while setting up your own boosts. And while 30 base attack might not seem that impressive, Hoot Hoot makes up for it by having physical stab and, like, good physical stab return. So, like, it is a pretty threatening mon. And also, something I haven't mentioned at this point is the move Present. Present has a glitched damage formula that I don't want to go too in depth with it, but basically it does a ton of damage to Pokemon whose secondary type, or their only type if they're a solo type, is a special type. So, like, Paris, Pichu, Swinub, Totodile, and Meryl, it take a ton of damage, but everything else doesn't really take a whole lot of damage. And so basically running Curse on Hoot Hoot or Pidgey or even Sentret, or Nidoran, or Nidoran male, does have an advantage over running it on Totodile or Paris because they're less threatened by Present. The only problem is Present only works very well if the Pokemon using it is a normal type, and the normal types with Present are Cleffa and Igglybuff. Wooper I mentioned, we're now going into the B rank. Wooper I mentioned when I was going over Zubat. It kind of serves the same role as a Hazemon. It has the advantage of better physical bulk, meaning it can handle Curse users better, like by switching in. But it does have the problem of being slower and having just no utility outside of Haze. It also just, like, these stats are really bad. It does not hit hard. Like, it has okay physical bulk, but it's not, like, amazing. And given that you kind of want to use your Hazemon as fast as possible, I typically prefer Zubat, because I know it's going to outspeed, whereas Wooper, I believe, doesn't outspeed a -1 Pidgey. Let me just double check that real quick. Pidgey times 2, 140. Yeah, Pidgey at -1 still outspeeds Wooper, which is a problem because +1 attack Pidgey is gonna do a lot more damage. Is gonna do more damage to Wooper than +0 attack Pidgey would do to Zubat. And also Zubat has Confuse Ray, which is really annoying. So that's everything that's considered actually part of the tier, but there's still some mons with pretty decent niches. Starting it with the B- rank, Sentret is not weak to electric or ice, but it's just basically a Pidgey. sort of Pidgey, like Pidgey adjacent. Like if we do a comparison, Pidgey is way faster, is overall bulkier physically, about as less bulky specially. They hit about equally hard, but generally, like Sentret is just like if you want, like the concept of Sentret is the only thing better than one Pidgey is two Pidgeys. Like Pidgey is better because it's faster and more immediately threatening, but Sentret can be devastating. It also has rollout, but it doesn't have the bulk to pull it off the way Meryl does. But like, I just have to mention it because rollout is funny. Like, here's everything that gets rollout. Meryl is the only thing here that can really justify using it, like, at all. But like, I just find it funny that anything can use rollout. Well, not anything, but like, there is something that can use rollout. You get what I mean. Cleffa, I mentioned this earlier. It has this funny move. This is horribly inconsistent, but like it just breaks through defensive setup on like Totodile and Slugma so effectively when it doesn't miss or heal the target or land on 40 base power. Like it's inconsistent, but it can just like Oko Totodile, which is really funny. Oh, I don't have a sample set. Well, generally you... Right, because when I made these sample sets, Togepi was still in the tier and it completely outclassed Cleffa and Igglybuff. But like this is your set. Psychic is to hit poison types. And by poison types I mean the Nidorans and Zubat. Like it's niche, and yes, these stats are absolutely atrocious. It does have charm though, which is nice, I guess. But like, it's a pretty niche Pokemon that really just you use it if you are just absolutely terrified of Cursed Totodile and just do not have any other way to deal with it and just want it gone. Although I will mention Igglybuff does have slightly better physical bulk, but is just worse in every other way. It has way worse special bulk, and like any Totodile set that has a special move or, well, Slugma, like, are much more scared of Cleffa than they are of Igglybuff. So Igglybuff ended up unranked. Ditto looked at this description for Metal Powder. If held by a Ditto, its defense and special defense are 1.5 times, even while transformed. That is not how this works in modern gens. It's not how it works Gen 3 onwards. Not that you like ever run Metal Powder over a choice item on Ditto, but like, just saying. So basically, the game plan here is you transform, and you have most likely a better, well, you have about as good or a better HP set than the target, and you have better defenses, so you're just a bulkier version of them. There is a problem though. Stats in Gens 1 and 2 are capped at 999. This cap is to stop the stat from overflowing once it goes above 1024, which is 2 to the power of 10. Well, once it hits 1024, it goes above. Metal Powder is applied after this cap, which means you can overflow your defense if you're boosting your stats and or if you're copying this target's boosts, which can be a very big problem. You can get around this by running leftovers, because like even if you're just as bulky as the target, like being able to like it's a good panic button against a setup mon that's you failed to stop from setting up, because you can just copy their moves. Or you can use metal powder because and just try and turn into Swinub and just be an even bulkier version of Swinub. Like it's again a niche choice, but it's usable. And finally, two Pokemon that just barely have a reason to use them. Hoppip is fast and it has powder and it has sleep powder and it has Encore and it has Leech Seed, which is okay. And then Tyrogue has terrible stats, but it has Thief. And it has like Stab, Mach Punch. And that's kind of it. And Stab, High Jump, Kick. So those are just that's everything that's I think is worth covering. Overall, this is just a really fun tier that I highly recommend you give a try because I'm being repetitive here, but it's really fun. Like, this is one of my favorite tiers, unironically. See you in the next video.